Hey guys, here we go into a video on Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, and one of the most anticipated fights in the welterweight division. This is going to be an incredible fight, really big payday for both fighters, and I think the winner of this fight will be widely regarded as the best fighter at 147 pounds. Now, I think this fight is going to be won or lost in control of the fight. And I think that stuff like this, Crawford is very good at controlling the space between you and him, right? With his lead hand, as you see, he comes forward, controlling, right? Feinting into this position, controlling that lead glove when Khan comes forward, and then controlling that lead glove when Khan comes forward, right? Never giving Khan an opportunity to really set his offense up. And this is a very important part of boxing, is controlling the space between you and your opponent and managing your opponent's weight, right? So as Khan comes forward, Crawford looks to control him, right? And this puts Crawford in a very superior position to Khan, because Khan is going to have to explode out of his guard if he cannot get around these controls, right? If he cannot find a way to control Crawford's lead hand and stop Crawford from controlling him, right? And then attacking him with the control, right? Utilizing the control and then playing that little game, right? To start landing his shots. Now, I know Crawford is fighting southpaw here and Khan is fighting orthodox, but if Crawford were to fight as an orthodox versus Spence's southpaw, the fight would look very similar. Now, again, Crawford doing a great job of controlling the space, and when Khan comes forward, he can control him with the right hand, right? Get him off the line and make him move back, right? Control that space using the right hand, not only using the jab, right? But using the right hand as well to get Crawford out of position, or Khan out of position, so you can start landing that right hook there. And that'll be very similar if he's using the left hook against Crawford, or against Spence, if Spence fights him, obviously in the southpaw, and he fights orthodox. But as you can see, controlling the space not just with the lead hand, but controlling it with the right hand as well, right, or the rear hand. Now, the reason that this is so important for Crawford is because of the fact that Spence doesn't move his head a lot, right? When Spence gets on the line, it's very easy to control him and feint him and move him around using lead hand control, right? And then walking your opponents into combinations later after you've already secured control of them, feinting him into the back spot, landing this cross right here, this right hook from Crawford, right? Now, Crawford will be able to do this from the orthodox position as well, but showing that he has an understanding of this and looking at the kinds of attacks and control that he can make as the fight naturally progresses, right? So he has control of Khan's lead hand here. He has Khan on the back foot here, and then he shoots this right hand at him, or this left hand here, to solidify him on the back foot so that he can set up this right cross, right? Very great sense and use of control to set up his attacks. And as you can see, we go through all the phases of this, right? Control, until he's able to start landing the right hand. And then once Khan is able to get away from the right hand, right, pulling away from it, right, then Crawford is able to start using those attacks to set up these right hooks, right? Or in the Spence fight, it'll very likely be left hooks, right? But getting in there, able to take that position and take that advantage. Now, the reason I think that this is going to be effective for Terence Crawford is because of the fact that Errol Spence punches when he controls the space. Now, he doesn't spend a lot of time using lead hand control, using lead hand dominance, right, and controlling his opponents. He mostly looks to control them by getting on the line with them and punching at them. And as we can see with his fight against Shawn Porter, Porter was able to attack him on those timings and use his lead hand to get around Errol Spence's lead hand, right? Very similarly to this situation here with Crawford. With this one, right? Control the lead hand and then start layering his attacks. Wrong clip. But as you can see, Shawn Porter having a very good time with his active guard, right, and his lead hand control, getting Errol Spence out of position. Now, I think this is going to be a very difficult position for Errol Spence to be in, as you can see shooting the right hand here, right, from Porter, and then coming back with that cross, right? Now, Crawford's was a little better, right, knowing what position he needs to be in, but as you can see, Errol Spence is open for this attack here, right? And I think that the lack of control that Errol Spence has against his opponents, because he doesn't use lead hand control, because he's not constantly feinting and looking to control you, because he controls the space with punches and not head movement, right? Because he doesn't get off the line, with those attacks, right? And he looks to get on the line with punches, as you can see Khan here doing, right? The lack of control, the lack of feinting, the lack of probing, the lack of changing positions here allows Crawford to more easily set up his counters. As you can see here, setting up this counter here when he feints with the right hand or the straight left hand and then comes back with the right hook here, blasting Khan, right? And again, because Khan doesn't control the space, it's very easy for Crawford to set these traps up. And as you can see here, Crawford doing a great job of transitioning his attack, right? He's coming for him in the orthodox position, and as you can see, when Khan attacks him, he changes to the southpaw here, right? Very, very clever, very crafty, right? But boom, changing positions through that hook. But because of the fact that Khan looks to only control the space with punches, right? Getting on the line with his opponent, it's very, very difficult for Khan to mount any offense. And because of the fact that Errol Spence fights in a very similar way, I expect him to have an equally difficult time against Crawford, right? Now, as you can see, Spence, even in the 12th round of his fight with Shawn Porter, still hasn't made an adjustment with the way that he gets on the line with his opponent. And you can see Shawn Porter, even though Shawn Porter by this time in the fight was kind of beaten down and kind of falling behind on the cards, Errol Spence was doing a great job of getting on the front foot, attacking, right, putting the pressure on Porter, but Porter wasn't controlling Errol Spence as well with the lead hand. He wasn't controlling him with the feints and probes, but he was still able to take advantage of Errol Spence's lack of an active guard, the lack of setup against him to land these big counter shots and continue attacking him, right? As you can see here, Shawn Porter doing his best impression, right, of a robot, right? Position 1, position 2, position 1, and then feinting, and even able in the 10th round to feint Errol Spence into an attack, right? Feinting, changing positions, controlling Errol Spence, and then again, Errol Spence controls the space with a punch, and that's what walks him into that straight left hand of Shawn Porter. Now, there are going to be some times, right, where I think that Crawford may struggle with Errol Spence's style. As you can see here, Crawford Khan coming forward and able to feint him and land kind of that cross right there when Crawford is not maintaining control of that lead hand and not controlling Errol Spence with that lead hand and not attacking him, right? Not using the control that he has to set up those attacks and allowing Khan to kind of come forward and land some shots. Now, as you see, in spite of the fact that Shawn Porter was doing a good job of countering Errol Spence, because Errol Spence doesn't use a very active guard, right? He only uses punches to control the space, right? He's able to put enough pressure on Shawn Porter, in spite of that fact, to continue attacking, continue putting pressure, because sometimes Shawn Porter would lose control of Errol Spence, and that would allow Errol Spence to come forward and land attacks, right? Do a good job of setting up his attacks, only because of the fact that sometimes Shawn Porter wouldn't continue controlling him, right? Keeping control of these lead hand attacks, right? Very similar to, very similar to these scenes here, right? Where Crawford is controlling that lead hand, and when he doesn't do that, allowing Khan to get into spaces like these where he can feint him, head movement, right? Control, and then start crossing his opponent's line, right? See how he crosses his head from the back foot to the front foot to the back foot again, right? Through that cross. Now again, Errol Spence doesn't always have the most active of guard. He doesn't cross his head over the line very often. And sometimes he makes it easy to control him with your lead hands, right? And blocking and countering him, right? Because he doesn't have the most active of guard. Sometimes he is easy to control and get out of position, as you can see in these clips here. Countering him easy, but again, because he doesn't always control the space with things other than punches, right? Now, the way that I see the fight playing out is basically like this clip here. I think Crawford is going to do a good job of controlling Errol Spence, getting him out of position, and setting up his attacks because of the fact that Errol Spence doesn't control the space very well. I think that he's going to allow a lot of situations like this where Crawford is able to open him up and then get him out of position and land shots. Now, there may be some times in the fight where Errol Spence is able to put some pressure on him, right, and land some shots of his own. But for the most part, I expect Errol Spence's offense to be very, very ineffective against Crawford because of the amount of control that Crawford will have over the space between him and his opponents. Because of the lead hand control, the constant control of his opponent's weight. So I think this fight is going to be won or lost based on the control of the space between them, very similarly to how Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. Not able to maintain control of the space between him and his opponent. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon if you're a young and aspiring fighter and you want to learn more about how to fight in each different position, okay? From the back foot to the front foot to the front foot again, right? Or transferring your weight to the back foot again. Understanding how to feint, set up probes, right? And cross your opponent's line safely to land attacks. Now, again, if you guys are interested, I'll be doing personalized film studies of your shadow boxing, your heavy bag drills, your double end bag drills, and any of that kind of work. If you guys are interested in learning how to more effectively train to be a better fighter. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. I really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks, guys.